is the Cover 3 Tailgate. And welcome back to the Cover 3 podcast here on CBS Sports. That's Tom Fornelli. That's Danny Kanell. I'm Chip Patterson. Coming to you live at youtube.com/cover3 and everywhere you get your podcasts on demand. Thanks for hanging out. Smash that subscribe, smash that like, and come and join us in the chat, a.k.a. the Cover 3 Tailgate, where the debates are already rocking and rolling. Yes, we got a little philosophical, a little introspective on Monday. Super League, fan fiction, big heady stuff. Get that out of the way. Back to ball talk, gentlemen. We are just going to be ranking quarterbacks, specifically returning quarterbacks for the 2026 season. It is the beginning of us really getting the conversation started for what we're going to expect on the field in the upcoming season. So Tailgate's already running through its top fives, its top tens, players who have to be on there, players who don't deserve to be on there. So we love to see that. The three of us all have our top tens, but we will be debating and discussing sort of the entire quarterback picture as well coming up in just a little bit. Speaking of quarterbacks returning, Chandler Morris is going to try to. Okay. So after we've seen the success of Trinidad Chambliss in Mississippi, we have seen the legal failures, or at least the inability to get a favorable ruling in the state of Tennessee for Joey Aguilar. Chandler Morris is heading to court in the state of Virginia seeking a 7th year of eligibility. Now, I realize this is going to be a little bit disrespectful to Chandler, Chad, Paula, Mackenzie, the whole Morris family. But we need to just cut to it as college football fans. Between go get them on one side and get a job, Danny, where are you on the Chandler Morris when we put him on the scale here?
Get a job. 35 starts in college football, 6 years.
Multiple power conference schools.
Yeah, like I just don't feel that bad about this one. If I was him, I'd probably try it. Why not? Because you can make a lot more money playing. And I do wonder if his attorneys are charging a fee. Like, do you give one of those where you only have to pay us if you win? Like one of those, because I hope he's not wasting his money. I don't think he has a great chance. I do think, the mental health angle is probably one I would try to push for too. I'll be curious to see if there's any documentation of, because that's one of the main things he's going for at his time at TCU when he did lose the starting job, saying that, that really, hurt him a lot. But I don't think he has a great chance. And I keep going back to somebody's got to be the bad guy. And actually, like over the course of history, the NCAA has gotten crushed. This is one where I'm okay with them being the bad guy, saying, you know what? You've had your chance. It's time to move on. Because I do think this hurts. This is one of those ones where we don't talk about the angle enough about high school players, younger players waiting their opportunity. You would be taking a spot from one of those. So I am totally okay if Chandler Morris gets rejected.
Yeah, I'm actively rooting for him to get rejected, and it's nothing personal. But
right.
I've said it. It's just there's got to be a cutoff at some point. Like, move on with your life. Go try to play professionally. If you can't make it professionally, then, sorry, you're going to have to find something else to do. And I know there's the argument that they have the opportunity to make money doing it in college now. So that's why they're trying. But there's no law that says if you can make money, they are required to give it to you. Like, just sorry, there are rules in place. And it's funny, if you look at his college football reference page, I think this is an incredible kind of reflection of where we are, in that he has 3 separate freshman seasons. He has his 2020 season in Oklahoma when he was a freshman, an actual freshman, but that doesn't count eligibility wise anywhere. Yeah. Then the next year at TCU, he played in 4 games, redshirt season. That's a freshman season. And then 2022, he's still a redshirt freshman now. So he's in his third year as a freshman, but he also played 4 games. But you've already used your redshirt, son. Those were the rules. And then you played 4 more seasons after that, including 26 games last year at Virginia, North Texas. You've been at 4 schools. If you do get another year of eligibility, you'll probably be at a 5th school because I think Virginia's moved on.
So
he does have a father who's the offensive coordinator at a P4 somewhere. So I do wonder, and there are quarterback questions at that school. But I just, he is how old? He's like 25 at this point. So move on. I hope you lose. Nothing personal. For the sport, I hope you lose.
Right. Which gets us to the kind of fun football-y side of this. Danny, I just heard your yelp because while he does not meet the standards of our exercise today because he is not a returning starter, I did take the preparation as an opportunity to survey the landscape of quarterbacks in college football, and projected starter Chris Vezina at Clemson does not make any of my watch lists right now.
No.
But Chandler Morris playing for new old Clemson offensive coordinator Chad Morris would be very interesting. Do you make any connection to the fact that he didn't take this legal action until after Chad Morris is hired? He could have done this exact same thing back in January. And to Tom's point, he's doing it in the state of Virginia. But Tony Elliott and that offensive staff, they've got Bo Prabula, good player, and Eli Holstein in that quarterback room.
I definitely don't think he's playing at Virginia if he wins this one. I think they're like, good, we're moving on. We've already, and they're, probably whatever allotment they're paying those 2 quarterbacks. I don't know if they could afford Chandler Morris coming back, but I do. And I was saying about the attorneys, if they did it free, I wonder if his dad footed the bill. Hey, let's make this try to happen. You come. And I guarantee you Dabo he's going to compete for the job, but I think he'd probably have a leg up on all the other quarterbacks at Clemson who haven't played half as much football as he has.
How wild would it be, though, given Dabo's history, with the transfer portal and all this, just being old school as hell when it comes to roster construction, when suddenly he's got a 35-year-old quarterback?
Would it be tampering after Dabo Swinney may have sparked? Do you make it this? I didn't have this in the rundown, but the NCAA has sent a sternly worded letter to its enforcement directors to crack down on tampering. Do you think we get any tampering penalties from the NCAA before September?
No, I wish we would, but I don't think we will. What confidence can you have that they're going to get this done quickly? None.
If there's a whistleblower, if a player starts showing all the receipts of all the teams that contacted him, then maybe you'd get, but I just don't see why a player would do that.
Didn't a player do that? Was it Fresno State? Who was the player? Because it was right around the time the Clemson Ole Miss was coming. I think there was a player that did have a receipt. That would be the one I would think the NCAA would go after, where we've already seen some of the proof.
Oh yeah. Classic NCAA enforcement playbook is you let the media do all the research and hard work for you, and then you just glom onto that and then try to confirm as best or as little as you can, even beyond that. So Chandler Morris, maybe offensive analyst for the Clemson staff.
Sure.
It's
in the blood, in the family.
We could see, but yeah, we'll find out again. He is the interesting part of that. He is challenging this in the state of Virginia. And yes, Virginia has pretty good quarterback room as is. So we'll be interesting to see if he does have success. One more, speaking of coaches' sons, how about a quarterback son? Gunnar Rivers made headlines with the commitment to NC State. Are we paving the way for a Deion-like coach quarterback combination?
Oh,
my buddy Joe Ovius passed this along from one of his viewers, Ovius and Giglio podcast, the OG Triangle Media, that one of their listeners and viewers chimed in with the suggestion that you get Gunnar, and then Phil, who was interviewing for NFL head coaching jobs, could be something special in West Raleigh.
Sure. Yeah, it's going to happen for sure. Dave Doran will be
come on,
fired,
let's
and then Phil Rivers will take over as head coach after he, returns from his latest NFL
One more
game.
time.
I'm sure he's going to play for somebody in September. But then Doran's going to get fired, and Phil's going to be like, "Sorry, Titans or Jets, whoever the hell is giving him the chance." He's like, "I've got a football team to go take over," and he just rides off in his sunset to take care of his son. I thought the bigger controversy, and perhaps the reason Bud was dodging the show today, was that after Gunner committed to NC State, he became a 3-star.
Yeah, I did see that before.
Sites have done it again.
Yeah.
Big brand bias.
For the record, Dave Doran would not get fired in this fan fiction. He goes off to open up the bait shop. The long rumored and the long discussed Dave Doran post-coaching life of opening up the bait shop and telling all the journalists what they're getting wrong with their reporting of college football.
I like Dave Doran a lot. I do think this was something I would not be shocked if you saw it happen. If there's another rough season at NC State, I could see them potentially going this direction, kicking the tires on it.
I mean, I think one of the selling points from Phil Rivers, aside from the fact that, he's an NC State great, he's an all-time quarterback, but you have quarterback stability for like the next 20 years because he's got like 45
right.
sons. So you know who your quarterback is already for the next 20
I mean, he's got grandkids already. You got future. I mean, 20 years. Why not 30, 40 years?
Probably get him at a discount because, their dad's the coach. So that would help you fill out the rest of the roster. Maybe this is what NC State needs to do.
I think that given his status and his respect in the game of football at all levels, just cozying up to the Rivers clan is a fantastic branding move for NC State football for the next 20 years. I mean, y'all don't realize we got Shanahans that are growing up right now, okay? So it's not going to be the Shanahans, it's the Rivers, okay? The Rivers are going to be all over football. They're going to be quarterbacks. They're going to be coaches. They're going to be this is going to be the full takeover of Philip's dream, Yeah, you get started early and you just keep them coming for decades. And then before you know it, you've taken over football.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's smart.
College football tradition in the chat did have a great suggestion. Dave Doran goes down the road to coach at ECU, where Mr. Beast gives him $100 million to fund the roster. That is the move right there. I mean, and they've already had this bad blood between these two. Like, if you can't beat them, join them. Like, let's just go. By the way, Philip Rivers, everyone's looking for, where can you get money? $245 million career earnings for old Phil Rivers. So he could maybe fund a couple years to help it out, get the ball rolling.
I'm gonna
he's got a lot of kids to feed.
Well,
but he has health insurance for the next 5 years.
Thank you. I was gonna say this is a question that Danny Kanell is uniquely qualified to answer. I thought when he came back and played, does that restart the clock for pensions or insurance?
Absolutely it does. Another 5 years. Trust me, when that Cobra copay came in that first year, that was a shock to the system after I got kicked off. I did not make $245 million. I could have used that.
Yeah, you saw that hit and you were like, "Ooh, actually, the arm does feel okay today.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can get back out there." But yeah, again, so on the recruiting services bit, fans go crazy about that. I think another service dropped him, and therefore it dropped to the composite rating.
Mm-hmm.
I think 24/7's grade has not changed.
But why did he suddenly drop, Chip? Why?
Because he didn't go to Alabama, right?
They're all working in concert. It's all a conspiracy against your team.
Man, this is July. It's not even July. July, we're doing win totals. This is like June content. A recruiting service, somebody who works for it, may argue we do follow the lead of some coaches because we believe that those coaches are some of the best evaluators in the game. Otherwise, they would not be in that position. Is that a flaw in the system, or would you do the same thing if you were put in the same position?
I wouldn't call it a flaw. I'd call it more of a necessity because you can't scout every single damn high school player in the country. So you kind of do have to rely on what the teams and the coaching staffs think of these players. Like, no matter how good your scouts are, whether you're 24/7 or one of the other services, you can't have eyes everywhere. you do rely on the thoughts of others. It's the consensus for a reason. That's the reason why like 24/7 had the consensus rankings to begin with. There's more value in them than just the solo ones.
And it also, I mean, it's an imperfect system in general. I mean, look at the NFL draft. They can't get first round picks right. And they've seen these guys play at college. Good luck trying to break down grainy film. You haven't seen them in person and you're watching some huddle film. Like, it's just imperfect. So to Tom's point, like you kind of do have to rely on some of these coaches. And I think it's a little bit collaborative where they both kind of fall in line.
Because go ahead, Tom.
I was just going to say, the recruiting services are just like the world in general, in which we all believe we're far more competent in what we do than we actually are.
Yeah.
As I try to cut through like allegations of conspiracy to try to come up with what's the most sensible way this happens, I saw it go something like this. Text the coach, hey, it sounds like, Gunnar might be going to NC State. What'd you guys think of him last time you saw him?
Right.
Evaluation comes back with not as glowing a review as what you had before. So with the rush of news, with everyone coming around, maybe you go and you update your rating so it's not necessarily as nefarious as some people believe. Or it is, and everyone's out to get NC State.
It's either a giant conspiracy or humans are stupid. I'll let you pick your side.
Wow. I can only speak for us. The smart, what are we, the smartest college football?
According to ChatGPT, we're the smartest college football podcast.
Listen, we didn't say it. Okay.
Right.
So it's just somebody else's words.
Robots did. They're smarter than we are.
We are putting our names to this next part. It's going to be our top 10 returning quarterbacks for 2026. So
Real
coming
quick.
up on the, yes.
Well, real quick, before we get to the other side, I just want to say real quick, we need more of what we saw on Monday night. We didn't get to talk about it. The award show that took place in Gainesville with Mario Cristobal and Kirby Smart trading barbs. Can we get more of that? That was awesome. I love seeing coaches. And those are two coaches who do not typically give you a lot at the podium. They're so buttoned up, so cliched. For them to go off in front of each other, that was one of the best things I've seen this offseason. And we need more of it.
Kirby offseason will.
Mm-hmm.
Kirby, in the season definitely sticks to the message, but offseason, especially post-championships, he's flying loose.
Yeah.
And I feel like, our dear friend and also mortal enemy, Ralph Russo, actually does a hilarious Mario Cristobal walking with his chest out impression, which is like funny given his stature.
Yeah.
Like, and just the way that Mario's carrying himself. Like, I think that swagger is just going to continue. We'll see more of that from Cristobal. That's my expectation. But let's see, what were the greatest hits there?
When Kirby said
good coaching.
Yeah, good. Well, we also said maybe you should hang around Steve Spurrier more because he had more championships at Duke than you've had at Miami, more ACC titles. And apparently, so I talked to Chris Doring this morning, who hosted it. He was one of the hosts on the stage. He said, because this is the 6th year they've done it. I was like, is this traditionally a roast? Is this what they do? And he's like, no. He's like, it's like boring, kind of awards circuit when you get the coaching awards. He said, and I was like, who started it? And he said Kirby was the one who kind of took him by surprise. And he said it wasn't planned. And he said Mario kind of caught him off guard. Mario came back with some incredible zingers too. I thought it was awesome. I thought it was great.
So also there was Kirby saying that Spurrier's daughter, who works in real estate, has been crushing it because John Summerall will be the 4th Florida head coach
since he's been at Georgia.
And they showed Summerall on screen.
Yes.
Summerall's saying this right in front of John.
Yes.
I think the thing fans should take away from this is that when we make fun of your coach, they can take it. They're big boys because they can make fun of each other. But also the fact that now so many of them are making so much money, the tension is kind of dripping. It's like if you talk about like professional athletes and how they're all friends now because they're all so rich. College football coaches are no different. They all have the same agents and they're all making a ton of money. They're all just as friendly as everybody else.
Yep.
Also, I know we know that there's the Mario Saban tension that we kind of saw come during some of their interviews together during the playoff run. I don't think that, even though he's a former Saban assistant, I don't think Mario's in that group chat, or at least in one. Like, we always heard about like the Lane, Kirby, Boom, like that the different group chats within the group chats.
Yeah.
I don't know if Mario's a part of that. So he's like in the family.
The basketball game, like that one, like the guys that
old
played hoops
pickup basketball game.
Yeah.
In the Sexton circle with Lane, the one that Lane is texting, how many of the coaches in there have that group chat muted and then have their own separate side one where they just talk about Lane?
That Lane has said that.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh yeah.
Somebody was like, tell me about the group chat. And he was like, well, which one?
Yeah.
There's like the big one and then the side ones that we have that don't include other people.
I'd love to know the name of those chats. You can
What
put
are
a
they?
little header on them. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh man, good stuff. All right. Coming up on the other side, our top 10 returning quarterbacks for 2026. We will show you our lists. We will tell you who didn't make the cut, dive into some of the big debates and more. Next.
When you need your sports news all the time,
We've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
Back here on the Cover 3 podcast. Excited to begin the conversation, truly setting expectations for what we will see in the 2026 college football season. For the purposes of, trying to get a good, robust discussion, I think that we should just show our cards first, if that's okay. DK, why don't you lead us off? We'll get Mikey to put the list on the screen. And if you could read out your top 10 for the listeners at home.
Number 1, Arch Manning. And I was somebody who was pretty critical of him last year, was not bought in. I am this year. Number 2, Julian Sayin from Ohio State. Think people forget how perfect he was during the regular season. Wasn't great, in the playoffs, but I still think he's got a bright future. He's got great talent around him. Darian Mensah at Miami. I think he's an upgrade from Carson Beck. I'm a big believer in what he's going to do in Miami. Dante Moore, number 4 at Oregon. Think he needs to take a big step forward, but he was pretty good last season. CJ Carr coming in at number 5. Josh Hoover, number 6. I thought about putting him even higher, but I do think he is going to flourish there at Indiana with a little better, and I think multi-year starter. It's kind of fits the bill for what Kirk Cignetti's looking for. Jaden Maava at USC, another one. And then some of the transfer guys, some of the highest priced quarterbacks in the transfer portal. Brendan Sorsby coming in at 8, Sam Levitt at 9, and Trinidad Chambliss checking in at 10. I do have a new appreciation for the AP voters, as I may or may not have had to do some retooling through this one, because sometimes you just admit some guys. So there were some tough ones that I left out that I wanted to be in here, but there is your top 10.
Love it. Yeah, the show doesn't start till we say start. Okay.
That's right.
So we're making sure we were looking out for everybody here. Tom, why don't you run us through your list, and then we will, then I'll show ours, and we'll start to dig into this.
Sure thing. At number 1, I have Notre Dame's CJ Carr. At number 2, I have the surprise return to many, Oregon quarterback Dante Moore. At 3, I have Arch Manning. At 4, there's Ohio State's Julian Sayin. And then at 5, I have Miami's Darian Mensah. At 6, Texas Tech's new starter Brendan Sorsby. 7, Ole Miss's sleep apnea starter Trinidad Chambliss. At 8, I have USC's Jaden Maava. 9, the newest Indiana quarterback Josh Hoover. And at 10, I have the Gunner Stockton.
See, we're starting to see some of the names at the top. We're starting to see some names that are getting screamed at by the tailgate. So let's keep it going. Chip, number 1, Oregon quarterback Dante Moore, a quarterback who at one time during this season we wondered would even challenge Fernando Mendoza, not necessarily for the Heisman Trophy, but maybe for the top spot in the NFL draft. He's got a coordinator change. He's got a lot of personnel change, but if we're going to war, I like where I'm at with Moore. Arch Manning at 2, as we've discussed often. Arch Manning. That was his first year as a starter, and by the end of it, I think I feel okay about where he's at. I agree. CJ Carr checking in at number 3 is going to be a piece of everyone's projection that Notre Dame is going to have an awesome, awesome season. At number 4. I've got Trinidad Chambliss from Ole Miss. So Trinidad Chambliss a little bit higher, it sounds like, over in my book. Number 5, yes, Darian Mensah. Throughout the Darian Mensah saga, I just continually came back to what an impressive body of work it was. The Illinois game wasn't great. The Tulane game wasn't great. But by the end of the season, UConn was not great. But by the end of the season, the full body of work speaks for itself. I'm too low on Julian Sayin. I need to go ahead and just say that, but I've got Julian Sayin checking in at 6. DeMond Williams at 7, I think is fascinating. We can get into that one a little bit as we wonder what the loss of great skill players and the, I'm leaving, I'm not might do to the vibes. Bryce Underwood checking in at 8. That is probably some projection on my part. That is not necessarily going from production. Definitely not going from production. Then I get Sorsby checking in at 9. Sam Levitt checking in at 10.
Levitt was not on yours, right, Tom?
No.
I didn't have much of a problem with that. I am kind of low. I'm kind of torn on where to put him. I put him towards the back end, but I did feel like he was on there. I think some of that goes with Lane Kiffin's ability to develop him, take him to that next level. For sure.
Also, the
Bryce Underwood one is one that I think Chip has some explaining to do.
DeMond Williams too.
Yeah, those 2 ones. Yeah, but I mean, hey, we don't have to all think the same. This is.
Yeah, we do. This is the Borg, and Chip is broken contained.
Okay. DeMond Williams at his best is absolutely electric. DeMond Williams against most of the teams that he played this year was a real problem, game breaker, game changer. I think that if bridges can be mended, he's still going to have a good season with Washington this year. I am not going to be diving. I'm not going to get to, I'll tell you another fringe top 10 player for me. Oklahoma State's Drew Mestemaker, right? Mm-hmm. Doing a lot of copy and paste in, hey, look how awesome he was as a redshirt freshman, and he's going to keep the same coach. I'm more willing to back DeMond Williams, even with the offseason that he's had, after his first year as a starter. If we're going to apply all of this context to an Arch Manning, for example. So DeMond Williams went up against a Big Ten schedule. And when he wasn't playing some of the absolute best defenses, not just in the Big Ten, but in the country, he was one of the best players on the field. So I feel better about my DeMond Williams than I do about my Bryce Underwood. Bryce Underwood is the one I will admit was a little bit of the,
he's got to take a big step forward.
Yeah,
right.
That's got to be a big step forward that is factored in by a coaching upgrade on the offensive staff.
Yep.
That when you do look at Devin Dampier, I took my list all the way out to 30. Devin Dampier's on my top 30, right? Devin Dampier has some turnover issues, has some highs and lows that sort of, can Devin giveth and taketh away. Bryce Underwood in Jason Beck's offense could be really, really fun. Mm-hmm. Obviously, he's not the running threat, or has not shown to be the running threat that Dampier was, but I think the way that offense is set up, Bryce Underwood could be really, really good. So I will admit that's the one that I'm definitely calling a shot on, but he's had a full year as a starter. And if I show you his 10 best plays, you say, I see it. If I show you every single snap, you're like, wow, that's a freshman. So
you see, I took more of an approach where there's some projection in mine, but I was mostly going with, of the returning starters, who do I trust the most? Based on what I've seen. And I get what you're saying with Bryce. I think that he could end up being one of the best quarterbacks in the country next year if things click, because he's super talented. He's got a new offense coming in, and hopefully he's got better talent around him. But it's just to this point, based on what he did last year, I couldn't put him in. And one name I didn't see on any of our lists that I'm kind of surprised, but also not that surprised.
Jaron Chiave Sagapolitelli?
Nope, because he was a freshman, had great moments. He also had bad. John Mateer.
Uh-huh.
Remember how we were talking about him at this time last year? And now it's like he's not on any of our top 10s. So I don't know. I don't think
I like this. Keep going.
I think the biggest takeaway from this for me, and we don't have Bud's list, but there's a lot of good quarterbacks coming back this year. It's pretty much the entire opposite of what last year was, where we didn't have a ton of returners, and it was like we were guessing a lot more because there were going to be a lot of first-time starters, and that's part of the reason why Mateer was so hyped as he was, because there were so many question marks at the position. I think my takeaway is going into 2026 while I was doing this, because there are a lot of guys who I didn't have in my top 10 that I was very strongly considering putting in the top 10. It's like, man, we're in a pretty good spot for quarterbacks next year.
Ones that I had difficulty with. Josh Hoover. So let's see. Josh Hoover was on Tom's.
He was on mine. I had him high.
Okay.
Yeah, I had him 9. My thing with Hoover is I was big on him going into last year. I didn't think the personnel around him at TCU was fantastic, and I think that caused him to dip into some bad habits. I'm still bought into the guy I saw 2 years ago, and now that I'm transferring him to Indiana and with the coaching staff there, and then with the talent that they have brought in through the portal there, and what I'm expecting to see as far as his available options, I think we're going to see 2024 Josh Hoover with the Hoosiers, not the 2025 version. The guy who cut down on the turnovers and just ripped throws down the seam.
And I think some of that's going to have to do with better supporting cast, better, winning culture, the team that's hot. Like, I just think he's going to be in a better, I think it is kind of similar to Fernando Mendoza. Now, is he going to be the jump to number 1 overall pick and Heisman Trophy winner, national champion? It's pretty unfair expectations, but I expect him to play a lot better on the whole than he did at TCU.
But he is undoubtedly playing in the shadow of Fernando Mendoza.
Oh, without question. And that is not a fun place to be in. It was funny because I heard Mel Kiper was doing a Fernando Mendoza piece, and he's like, he's improved so much. He got sacked 48 times at Cal, and he was only sacked, 17 at Indiana. He's like, what a better decision maker. I'm thinking, well, some of it had to do with better offensive line that was in front of him, better, options to get out of it. And again, I think that kind of goes back to why I think Josh Hoover will get better as well.
Did he have Spav as his OC?
At TCU?
Or did he have Brian Harsin at Cal?
Oh, Fernando?
Oh, he had Spav. I know at one point he had Spav because I saw a film of him talking about how he went in to study film early with Spav. Yeah.
I'm trying to think about, the not only the difference in offensive line, but the difference in what he was being asked to do. So much of that RPO Indiana offense that we talked about a lot was like read, decide, go. Read, decide, go. Which is obviously good decision making. So not going to poke holes totally in that one. Do you think Curtis Rourke was a top 10 quarterback in college football?
No.
I think Hoover is going to be somewhere between there. I can't expect him to be Fernando. I think he will be better than Rourke.
He's far more talented than Rourke.
For the record, I've got Gunner as my 11. I've got Hoover as my 12. I also wrestled with Gunner, who I think can win a national championship. But if we're just sitting here putting together our board on February 25th, even as a coordinator of vibes, I can only let moxie and leadership carry you, but so far. That was my Gunner.
I had him just outside. When I omitted one of mine, he was one that got bumped. That I had to take out, unfortunately, because I do think he was underrated. But what did he finish in the Heisman? 7th? I mean, he still was a top
somewhere around there.
Yeah, I mean, he still had a really good season. Yeah, I mean, he still had a really, really good season. He was great in most of the big games. He's a really good quarterback.
And I want to be clear, he is a good quarterback, and he is not. When I say moxie and vibes, I'm not trying to yada 380 yards or whatever that he had passing against Ole Miss in a massive fourth quarter comeback. Like the absolutely talent is there, and I'm putting him at 11 on a list of, as Tom mentioned, very, very good quarterbacks. But
I think Gunner's strength is like he's very limited in what he can do and does well as far as passing, but he also doesn't turn the ball over. very often. He doesn't really put the ball in bad positions, which when you're Georgia and you have that much talent on your roster, that's a key thing. Like, just don't put your defense in bad positions and you should be fine.
Let's see, Tom, did you have Maeva? I did not.
Yeah, I have Maeva.
Okay. So, all right, Danny, Tom, sell me on Jaden Maeva.
He's a very good quarterback.
Okay. And I think he's going to get better another year in that system. So there is a little bit of projection in there with the job that USC's done recruiting. I know he loses Mekhi Lemon, but I think he's going to take another step forward. And trying to think, did he have like an awful game? I think he was really, really good all season long for the Trojans.
Yeah, I have my, the rating that I've been working on starting last year that I've been tinkering with that I still don't have a name for. Out of all eligible starters, qualified starters last year, Maeva finished 4th in the nation. Like, he's a very productive, very good player. He gets a little turnover prone with interceptions. That is one bugaboo that he needs to fix. But he developed really well into that offense. He understands it. You just got to cut out the mistakes and find replacements for who you lost. But I'm confident Lincoln Riley and USC will find replacements at wide receiver. And I think he's going to have, like, Chip, when you're hyping up USC to be a playoff team again next year, like you do every single season, like, I'm kind of shocked you don't have Maeva on your top 10 list, because I figured he'd be your Heisman favorite at this point.
No. Listen, this has really proven to be a podcast of growth. The willingness to change your mind. Tom's thought on the playoff and my thoughts on USC. Love my friends out in Los Angeles, and maybe I'm just a sleeper cell agent that will be activated by the time we get to, the first USC appearance on CBS. And I'll all of a sudden tell you how they're about to rip off a Big Ten title run. But for now, I think the absence of Mekhi Lemon, Jacoby Lane, defensive coordinator Danton Lynn, some of my favorite players on that defense, guys that I really, really liked. I've mentioned that before, but I'm just going to I'll be slow. I'll be late to the USC train and the USC party on this one.
But early to Bryce Underwood.
But early on the yes.
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 You know who I had? It was just on the outside, and I wanted to put him in, and I bet he didn't make your guys' list. Kevin Jennings at SMU. Like, quietly, he's had 2 pretty consistent years. A little more interception last year, but he was banged up. He's tough as nails. There's going to be this void after Miami. Who's going to be the next best team? SMU was in the hunt very late in the ACC. Like, their defense was more problematic. He did beat Miami on one leg. So I thought Kevin Jennings deserved consideration. I just had him on the outside, but he was somebody I thought deserved at least to be in the conversation.
55th not in my rankings, but in my rating stat last year for Kevin Jennings. So the turnovers were bad, and that really kind of sunk him. I do, like, to me, he's firmly in that 15 to 20 range. Like, I had considered him, but I there are a lot of guys I like more.
We had, like I mentioned, robust conversation in the tailgate. There are a lot of Rocco Becht questions.
Yeah, there was a lot of Rocco Becht.
Love Rocco.
Rocco Becht be considered a returning starter. He's playing for the same head coach, offensive coordinator, and QB coach, and his running back and top 4 pass catchers followed from Happy Valley. Where does Rocco Becht fit in your outlook?
Just on the outside. I feel bad because I think Anthony, his dad's going to see this and be like, come on, how did he not? Because last year I think I had him just on the outside and heard from him. It's like, oh, he's just out there. I think he has to take and I think it's going to be a bump up in competition. He will have better supporting staff. It wouldn't surprise me if he has a really good year again. I do think, like, if Penn State wants to, make a deep playoff run, I think he's got to get even a little bit better in some of those bigger games against the better competition.
I love Rocco. The problem I have with him is his game is mostly based on shots down the field. Like, if you look at his average air yards, it was like over 9 something per attempt last year. And because of his size, I just don't think he can throw over the middle of the field and short all that effectively. So you're kind of limited in what he can do, which is kind of the same situation with Gunnar Stockton. Right. It's just Rocco has more of a turnover issue than Gunnar Stockton does. So when I look at those two, they're very much the same guy to me, but one does a better job of taking care of the football. So Rocco is very much in consideration, but he didn't crack my top 10.
two quarterbacks that have very little in common are right beside each other on my full top 30. Rocco Becht and Lenoris Sellers. Wildly different games.
Yes.
Wildly different, stories and the way that they've gone through their career.
I would have Rocco significantly higher on who you trust.
Yeah.
I've got Rocco ahead of Lenoris for the record there, but it's just like it is in that hodgepodge of trust, and I don't know, it still could be there, and that's kind of my approach with Lenoris Sellers right now. It could be there. Kendall Briles and Lenoris Sellers, you could tell me that works.
Mm-hmm.
Lenoris had a horrible season.
Awful.
Yeah.
I mean, and my rating system, again, it includes rushing output. Lenoris ranked 113th nationally among qualified QBs. You know who was 112th? Jackson Arnold. I don't think a lot of people fully understand how bad Lenoris' season was. So the question for me, and again, I was going from the who do I trust the most, 2024 to 2025, I don't know who I'm getting.
Would you take Bear Bachmeier ahead of Lenoris Sellers?
No, I think Lenoris is a higher ceiling.
Would you take Connor Wegman over Lenoris Sellers?
No.
Byram Brown.
Yes. I think I would.
Is that the range that we're talking about here? Like Lenoris Sellers falls into the a Byram Brown type range?
I take Lenoris ahead of Byram, because he's played, 20 some odd games in the SEC to this point.
Sure,
whereas
yeah.
Byram's been in the American, and he hasn't had to deal with that kind of competition. And also, just health-wise, I think Lenoris has a better chance of surviving a season than Byram does, because Byram is going to get hit a lot. And it's different getting hit by the North Texas Mean Green defenders than it will be getting hit by Georgia defenders.
We opened the show with conversations about Gunnar Rivers and Dave Doran. I think CJ Bailey is a name that I'm not going to say needs to be top 10, but you should not get to 20, I think, if we're talking about quarterbacks for 2026 without looking at the Wolfpack's 3-year starter, right?
Mm-hmm.
He gets in there as a freshman, full season last year, pretty good, coming back for his 3rd year. Even though they changed offensive coordinator last year, Kurt Roper has been there as his quarterbacks coach for all 3 seasons. They lost some notable skill players to the transfer portal, certainly, but I don't know, man. Bailey's got the goods, and I'm expecting him to have a successful season for the Wolfpack for sure.
Who else? Did you guys have? Where'd you have Marcel Reed?
God, man.
Because I think he's somebody. Damon Williams has played better over the whole, but like when you said flashes, like when he's on, I thought of the second half versus South Carolina. I'm like, oh, you get that version, like watch out. But you can also get the incredibly erratic version. But I would expect him to take a step forward. But he is losing Colin Klein. Like he is losing. Which one's coming out?
Concepcion.
Concepcion's coming out.
Mm-hmm.
So like he's got Craver coming back, but I'll be very curious to see. Like, I think he could be somebody who plays his way onto this list.
Yeah,
okay, here we go. Go ahead, Tom.
I was going to say Reed was in contention, but I kind of removed him because of the Klein and the Concepcion questions, and also he's losing a couple of running backs. So I don't know if more of the load's going to be put on his shoulders next year, and I don't know if that's good.
Would you rather have Colin Klein's quarterback for 2025 or Colin Klein's quarterback for 2026?
See, they're like the same player to me.
Well, I'd probably trust Marcel Reed a little bit more
than Avery Johnson.
But Avery Johnson's competition won't be the same as Marcel Reed's competition level. So,
right.
You know what? I'm going to 10 toes down. Avery Johnson will have a better season than Marcel Reed. Bookmark it, clip it, put it on all the message boards.
Was last season the Avery Johnson Heisman hype that tanked horribly?
Maybe. I think, yeah.
Like he was the 60-1 dark horse that everybody's like, but if it works. Yeah. Maybe it's this year. Maybe it's Colin Klein as your head coach that pushes it through. All right, what about Marcel Reed against John Mateer? I've got those two in a similar range on my list, and I think that's they probably fit in about the same area. Do you all see it that way?
Yeah.
I think so. It's fair. I would put Marcel Reed a little bit ahead of Mateer.
I think Marcel's a better passer than Mateer. or at least he's shown better flashes of it. Like, to me, Mateer and Avery Johnson are still very much running backs playing quarterback. Whereas at least I've seen some process development out of Reed. But how much of that was Colin Klein? And will he be able to do the same thing for Avery?
Yeah. Like what you saw from Mateer at Oklahoma reminded you of Reed as a first-year player?
Mm-hmm.
Like some run it around and chuck it. But Reed actually did have to go out there and deliver slants on time and be able to like hit players to be able to get them to spring open the explosive plays. Yeah, I can see that. What other names did you have sort of on the fringe of your big board? And then before we close this thing out, we'll debate the top in terms of how you see them.
Guys I had around there. I mean, CJ Bailey, we've talked about.
Did anybody have Drew Mestamaker?
I've got him 11, 12, 13, 14.
Yeah, I had him just off because I'm curious to see how he takes the next step up in competition.
Could be awesome.
Yeah.
And if we want to talk about the Avery Johnson quality of competition, I don't have Oklahoma State schedule pulled up, but there will be more defenses that Mestamaker will see that are closer in quality rating to the defenses he faced in the American Athletic Conference than if he was playing somewhere else.
Of guys we have not discussed, I considered Noah Fafita. I just can't get over the height.
Do you know what I said on my notes? He's still in the league.
I know, that's what I thought too.
He had a good year for Arizona. Like Arizona had a good season. He had a good
Arizona
year.
Had a good season. He was good.
Yeah, it's the height just keeps him from being a top 10 guy to me. Other guys like they're the transfers that are coming from G5 to the P4s. You got your Colton Josephs at Wisconsin, your Caden Hausers at Illinois. I need to see them perform at the P4 level before I'm going to comfortably say that they are those guys. I mean, we mentioned Byron Brown. Yeah,
I won't sell Devin Dampier. I know the offense is changing, but he's good enough that I'm not gonna go total blind shots in the dark before I get to Devin Dampier.
Devin Dampier is a fun college quarterback. That's not the same thing as being one of the 10 best in the country.
Yeah, did not have him anywhere close to 10, but I just, as I was going through the exercise and just continuing to list as many names as I could. Bud mentioned in the text message that there were some first-year starters that he even considered flirting with top 10. My curious mind wandered. Who do you think would be on that list?
Well, first of all, we were ranking returning starters. Bud. Second, first-year starters that he'd have on his. I don't know. Let's go look at last year's rankings. Philo would probably be one of them.
He's got a little glimpse. We've seen him handle it a little bit, and he's going to go into.
It's coming from Troy Boy, so he's going to put someone else quarterback on there. Keelan Russell or Austin Mack, whoever ends up winning the Alabama job, I would say is probably a first-year starter who
Keen Holtz
be there
at Louisville.
Holtz at Louisville. That's another one that I could potentially see on there. Kenny Minchie at Kentucky.
Jared Curtis at Vandy.
Oh my goodness. Not one of us even uttered the words DJ Lagway.
Well, would we?
Would we? I was going to say, we didn't mention Lenore. I mean, like as kind of a what could have been.
What did we this is not saying that DJ Lagway can't have a great season, can't live up to the hype, but we talked at the very beginning, we were joking around like recruiting rankings, right? And the consensus and what, like the value of who's interested. DJ went from being the starting quarterback at Florida, a highly ranked, highly touted recruit, to he's at Baylor now. Like the market is usually right.
Yep.
Bud had JKS. Which I think is probably equivalent to your Bryce Underwood. Maybe he played better, threw the ball better. But I think that's probably one of Bud's more projected picks, which I'm totally okay with. If you squeeze one of those on this top 10, going to deal with coaching change. But for them to bring him back, pay him, keep him from leaving, he's uber talented.
Dante Moore was at number 1 on Bud's list, which should not come as a surprise to anybody who listens or watches the show. But Bud's got he writes Mr. Dante Moore on his notebook during the show. Like he's just in love with that guy.
Little hearts on it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
The O's are hearts and more.
Coming Coming up on the other side, we discussed sort of the wide range. Well, let's narrow in 10 toes down. What's the top of your board? How do you defend it? Compare and contrast. All that and more next. When it comes to money, it helps to look for tools that help you learn, stay organized, and actually see progress without making things complicated. And that's where TELUS comes in. TELUS began as a property management app, helping owners and managers collect rent, communicate with tenants, and stay organized. But TELUS now goes further, helping everyone grow their money. TELUS is reimagining how everyday people can grow by offering a high-yield savings wallet powered by real estate. Inside the app is a digital wallet designed to help your money go to work for you in a way that feels approachable and clear. You can move funds in and out easily, track your daily growth, and access your money whenever you need it. There are no processing fees, no locked up funds, no fees to open or use TELUS. Plus, you can earn better rates by engaging in positive financial behaviors like learning through TELUS Daily Trivia or setting goals for yourself. Learn more at TELUSapp.com or search TELUS, TELLUS, in the Apple App Store or Android Store. TELUS, earn more daily. TELUS is not a bank. TELUS is not FDIC insured. Back here
Tell us about it.
Back here on the Cover 3 podcast. At the very top, how much Tom, at the very top of your board, how much sort of internal consternation did you have trying to sort out your CJ Carr, Dante Moore, Arch Manning, Julian Sain? Where is the line? How about that? Where is your dividing line when looking at that?
Honestly, I didn't have a ton of internal debate about it. CJ Carr was the first name that came to my mind. Then Dante Moore, but I considered putting Arch above Dante. I considered putting Darian above Julian. Like, I considered putting Brendan above Julian. Like, there's not really tiers, I would say. This is all very close, but CJ Carr, I guess you could say, was his own tier because I did not really consider putting anyone else number one. But I just think that from what we saw from him as a first-year starter, very talented. I expect he will get even better going into his second year. And Dante Moore, like, I think is a very good quarterback. Like, he's going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the country again, just like he was last year. I also think that he is still somewhat limited in what he does and that I want to see more growth from him. And he could be the best quarterback in the country by the end of next season. But I also think that there's a reason he came back and that I think it was a very wise choice of his to come back, even though maybe financially he would have been just fine. I think if he's more worried about his long-term NFL potential and career, I think coming back and getting better was a smart move instead of getting drafted by a terrible team and getting buried.
DK, I know you got a roll here in just a second. Can we get a quick look at your list? Where'd you draw the line at the top? What's your top tier?
I would say I do have a tier as far as who I trust more than the rest. And I would say it's probably, if we get it up here, I think it was at the top 5, maybe top 4. Yeah, I would say the 5. I'd say the top 5 I feel really good about. Like, you do have new situations with Hoover, Sorsby, Levitt, Chambliss, new coaching staff, even though he was pretty dynamic. What's he do without Charlie Weiss and Lane Kiffin? So I think the top 5. And for the Arch thing, I feel better about him because his year was up and down. Because he did go through kind of the fire, got all the criticism, played his way out of it, and was playing really, as good as anybody to finish out the season. And now that you're adding some more weapons around him and Cam Coleman and others, I feel pretty good about Arch Manning.
It's the true year of the redemption. After Danny was out on Arch Manning to start 2025, we start as the president of the Arch Manning fan club. So keep beating that drum, baby. I love it. Vegas championship. Go ahead and lock it up. DK, I know you got to run. All right, for my my board, for me it was top 3. Tom, I knew I wanted those top 3, and then I began the adventure. Right, that was the part I did not have to. You're talking about I didn't think much. CJ Carr at number 1, sure. Danny putting Arch at number 1, not my one, but sure, I understand it. And then of course I've got Dante Moore. Everything else either takes shaking off something you saw, hello Julian saying, or hoping that Sun Run can continue, hello Trinidad Chambliss, hello Darian Mensah. Like that next tier is probably where I draw my next line. But for me, going into the season, whatever kind of quarterback you want, that's how I see my top three, where Moore, Manning, and Carr would be the first three names that I would want on a superstar Monstars depth chart.
Like the one part of your list that I genuinely have a strong disagree on, it's not DeMond and Bryce being considered, it's Chambliss being like ahead of Sayan. Because I do think, like, Sayan, obviously he struggled in the playoff against Miami, and he struggled a lot against Texas to start the year, although that was his first career start, so I don't hold that too much against him. But I just think the consistency with Sayan is far more reliable as far as trust. Whereas Chambliss, man, I loved what he was doing in the playoff, but a lot of what Trinidad does not strike me as repeatable. Like if we go back to the Georgia game, there were a lot of just running around and then chucking the ball downfield and making huge plays. It's not like a sustainable approach to playing quarterback at the college level at a successful mark. So I think that his ceiling is very high, which is, I mean, I did include him in my top 10, but as far as consistency and reliability, I think I would have Sayan comfortably ahead of Trinidad.
He was a Heisman finalist.
Mm-hmm.
It was just because it was the Indiana game too.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, it was just.
But who struggles against Indiana? Nobody but Julian Sayan.
Hey, listen. It's going to be fascinating. Like I've recency bias. That, hey, Chambliss and Sayan, that is a flaw in my top 10 that I put together today.
What do you hate about my list?
Let's see. Pull up your list. I am not ready to anoint Hoover as being the next Fernando. I think that's the corner that I'm standing on right now. That's why I wanted to like position Curtis Rourke, position Fernando Mendoza. I think he's an upgrade on Curtis Rourke, but I agree with you that the surrounding cast wasn't as great, but he still had some good players. He made some mistakes. The performance was a little spotty. So it's the Hoover. Hoover's another one where I'll be late to it. He'll probably carve up their non-con, but then when we get into some of those toughest games, and remember, bold prediction in the Big Ten, no team's undefeated in conference play. So that means he's going to take a loss at some point. We'll see who it's against and how it goes. So I see you, Chris. It is to see it on the screen and realize that we're sitting here as Julian Sayan, not as one of the top players in the country when he was a Heisman finalist. I get it. It's remarkable. I mean, you know what? I mean, it's just more fuel for the fire for that Ohio State team that always needs an extra edge, right?
I will say, like, Ohio State is going to have Jeremiah Smith still, obviously. So I'm not going to go that far. But we think of what Indiana has lost at receiver with Cooper and Surratt. But they have Charlie Becker coming back, and we saw what Becker was doing last year for them. And then maybe a lot of people don't know because they didn't spend a lot of time watching Michigan State for obvious reasons last year because they sucked. But Nick Marsh, Indiana's going to have one of the best receiving corps in the Big Ten again next year, and I think Josh Hoover is going to have a pretty damn good season with them.
Yep. And again, I've got Hoover as my 12, so like I'm not going to let this list get too long before I include a player of that talent in a situation that good. But on your list, that was the one where I was like, okay, because if you were to go look at FanDuel Sportsbook, play your game, Hoover is like 6th on the Heisman odds. That feels like an overreaction or playing in Fernando's shadow.
Yeah, maybe, but Indiana's going to be good, and they did just win the national title, and Hoover has been good. And I think that they've got their offensive coordinator back. It's going to look. I don't want to drag Fernando here because this is going to sound like Fernando, like question marks, but a lot.
Well, we got the combine preview tomorrow. Let's go ahead and get out Fernando slandered now.
A lot of what they do in that offense is like the quarterbacks don't have to make a ton of decisions after the snap. They just have to figure it out before the snap. And I think a lot of Josh Hoover's problems at TCU last year were decisions after the snap.
Oh, I'm just going to chug it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I just mentioned it. We will be back Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern time with our NFL Combine preview. Tom already has his mock draft 1.0 up on CBSSports.com. The mock draft machine is up and churning for Tom. Danny, of course, providing great analysis as well. And what we have, well, we've got our own damn eyes and minds that have been watching these players for the last 3 or 4 years. So we'll get you set with what we're expecting, what we are excited about with the NFL Draft Combine. That'll be Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern time. We will not ignore mailbag questions. If you want to jump in the tailgate, NFL Draft or other questions, jump in the tailgate, youtube.com/cover3. Before we get going, drop a question. We will tackle it within the episode. And you can follow him on Twitter at Tom Fornelli. You can follow me at Chip_Patterson. Tom, thank you very much.
Thank you.